What is up, everybody? It is, man, it seems crazy, but it is a Wednesday. Hump day. We are in the middle of the week. Obviously, we've got a lot to get to. I am back, been on vacation for a few days with the family. That was nice. Rest, recharge. Well, I'm not sure if I'm rest or recharge. You know how it is. If you have a family and you go on family vacations, it's almost like more work when you go. But I enjoyed it, had a great time. It's nice to be back in the saddle today on the Grid and Grind show. We get to talk to Matt Phelan of the Atlanta Wild. Big impact in his first match with the Wild last week. So we're going to break that down. We're going to talk about his fitness journey, how he got into Grid, how he got hooked up with the Wild. But inevitably, we're going to talk about next week's matchup in Tampa at Valor Fitness. But before Matt joins us, got to plug the best sponsors in the game, the Mental Game Performance Coaching. If nerves, pressure, or overthinking are stealing your game day success, the Mental Game helps athletes turn practice into performance when it matters most. Beat the nerves and own the moment. Book your free game planning session at tmgperformancecoaching.com. Jesus One Apparel, empowering men, women, and children to follow their faith, following the message of John 16:33. Jesus won and continues to win each and every day. Chinook Seeds, whether you're on the field or in the boardroom signing deals, Chinook helps you get the job done. 8 flavors, mild to wild. Go to your local gas station, convenience store, grocery store. Pick up the best sunflower seeds in the game. And finally, Old Dominick Distillery. Experience 150 years of tradition in the heart of downtown Memphis. From bourbon to vodka, whiskey, gin. They got you covered. Stop in today for a tour or pick up your favorite bottle. Go online, olddominickdistillery.com. You'll see the wide array of liquor, spirits, you name it, they got it. They also got some sweet hats, some sweet T-shirts and gear so you can stock up. I mean, great stocking stuffers, great birthday presents, and who knows? If you're just wanting to try something new, hey, give them a shot. I promise you won't go wrong with anything you choose. But with that, the sponsor's been plugged. Keep the lights on for another day. And we got to get to it. So help me welcome on to the show, Matt Phelan of the Atlanta Wild. Matt, what's up, brother? How we doing?
What's up, Dan? Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, man. So here's the thing. I typically ask pronunciations of names. So is it Phelan? Is it like how do you go with the last name?
I get Phelan's the most common pronunciation I get. So I respond to that. But I've always told people it's Phelan, like fail in. But I get both more often than not. So either one, you'll get my attention.
I want to make sure I get it right. So we're gonna go with Matt Phelan, right?
I appreciate it.
There it is. See, it's not difficult, but Matt, you're obviously your coach, program designer at Open Box Athletics. You're a utility player for the Atlanta Wild. So let's start with Open Box Athletics. What does it mean to be program designer? I think I have a pretty good idea what it means to be coach, but like program design, what does that entail?
Yeah. So we write all of our programs in-house. I know it's more and more common in the last couple of years for CrossFit affiliates to outsource their affiliate programming to different training camps. I know like Mayhem, Training Think Tank, they have a lot of companies have programs that are delivered to the affiliates. But how our gym runs, we have 2 different programs and we have different gym spaces, different equipment. So it's been more beneficial for us to have everything written in-house and written around the constraints of our equipment, our gym, our members. So that way everybody gets the most accessible workout for them. We run both a CrossFit program, which is like traditional strength Metcon. They also run what we call Collider, which is a boot camp style, so no barbell, still a very, very hard workout. And they'll still do a version of our CrossFit Metcon, just a little bit more of a high-paced HIIT style class. So trying to make sure that we get full programs for both of those different styles throughout the whole week. So that's kind of what my role is here. I coach a lot of classes as well. But the program design is my baby, if you will.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, obviously, when you can take, one of the biggest things for gym owners is the programming piece. So when you can take that off their plate and go, "Hey, I got something for everybody," and it's just a nice little tidbit, a nice little caveat that you can add to layer into someone's gym and makes their life a lot easier. So for you, obviously, you enjoy the science behind the program design. You enjoy just doing it because
Yeah,
it is work and it takes like some thought and like piecing everything together, so that everything kind of meshes together. Because what you don't want to do is overload people, especially coming into a program. You don't want them to feel discouraged and like they can't
yeah,
do it. And so, but you also want it to be
exactly.
well. But
And we
for
got a
you,
really good coaching staff here. So like we are able to we do have like an on ramp, we call it opener, an on
Mhm.
ramp opener program. Where new members will get personal training sessions. That is like a standardized curriculum. So we know, or anytime they'll go to their first class, that coach will know what they do and don't know coming out of that program. So it makes it a way more streamlined process for new members to get into class when they kind of have their own constraints around what they can and can't do off the bat. So
gotcha. That makes sense. Well, let's talk about your journey. Obviously, you're a Philly guy. Where does fitness start for you? Is it just growing up and playing sport? You get in the weight room, you find working out and training and all that. They kind of go hand in hand, or is this something like later in life you have this epiphany? You're like, man, I really like working out.
that's a good question. I feel like it was something that kind of hit me when I was young, but I didn't know what it was until I was a little bit older. Like when I was playing sports growing up, I was never very good at sports, but like I remember getting to high school and playing track and field mostly, and then a little bit of football. I just really, really enjoyed practice. Like, I loved training and I loved learning the sport, developing skills. So like when I graduated high school, I didn't play anything in college, so kind of just all I had to do in terms of an outlet after sports was training. I ran myself through some pretty ridiculous like strength programs you could find on the internet back in like 2014, 15. I did I remember Corey Gregory squat every day program, squatted every single day for like 6 months and just, nothing else to do. So got super strong and I was like, oh, I should probably do something with this. Found CrossFit. Um, I was lucky, came into the sport relatively strong to like learn a lot of the skills and stuff. Um, and it kind of went from there. That's kind of when I realized, oh, I just like training a lot more than I do, at least from an individual standpoint, competing. I competed in CrossFit for a long time. I got started around like 2015, 16, probably did, never really broke through to like the regional semis or games level, but in terms of local comps, partner stuff, did a lot of that. Won a couple competitions when I was a little bit younger, but I knew pretty early on, like I don't have I don't have it up here for like high level CrossFit. I don't love um, some of that, like what separates like the really good athletes from the people that are just good at CrossFit, like people that break through to the top level, that mental part of it. I knew like I just wasn't gonna flip that through, and I'm okay with that. So kind of just pulled myself back to focusing on coaching and getting better at that and getting my athletes better. Um, and wasn't really doing anything competitive for a long time until I got a call from Dan, and then the grid chapter started. So
Did you know about grid prior to Dan calling you, or Dan calls you and it's like, hey man, like I know you squat a lot, and so let's talk. Or was this
yeah,
something that you're familiar with?
I wouldn't I wouldn't even go as far to say familiar with it. I knew about it obviously, like going through CrossFit back when like Matt Fraser was doing grid back like years and years and years ago. Um, so I like knew what it was, didn't know any of the nuance and details of it until I actually started watching it like consistently the last season. Um, so kind of got an idea of what the sport really was turning into. Learned a lot of the athletes, the teams, and I didn't even remember doing this, but I guess I put my name into the grid trials list or whatever you sign up for to play grid the following season. Didn't remember doing that, and when Dan called me, he said he saw my name on there. I was like, oh, that's alrighty, perfect.
It's like you have like a pair of pants that you finally wash and then you go to dry it and you reach in the next time you wear it and you have money in your pocket like, oh, I forgot that was
Yeah,
there. And like
exactly.
you forget that you threw your name in the hat for that, but obviously he calls. And is it him having to like persuade you into it, or did you just know immediately, like when he's like talking to you about it, that this is something you wanted to do?
I He didn't have to really sell me. Um, I think he thought he had to more than he actually did. Me and Dan go back like a couple of years. We talked a little bit years ago when I was working with some swimmers. With Dan's really great swimming coach. So when I was working with some swimmers for the strength conditioning stuff, like dryland stuff, we had a couple of conversations about that, and then didn't really speak at all for the next 3 years until he called me about grid. And honestly, like I have always trusted Dan. I have always like thought of him as a great dude, and the chance to compete with him, or not with him, but be on his team. Yeah, didn't really take much selling. Kind of just had to figure out if I really wanted to do this uh, sport and like really get into learning it. And yeah, he did. Yeah, I did. So he told me no rowers, no machines. That's really what sold me.
There's, there's no machines.
That's it.
You might have to sprint just a little bit, but I mean, it's not a lot. It's funny because you may not have the machines, but there are other devices on the grid that are equally as painful. But
Yeah,
when Dan Jackson, and I'll tell you this, Dan is a great guy. I've had him on the show, and probably one of my favorite, if not favorite episodes I've ever done, is just talking to him. He's got such a mind for coaching, but also he's a very analytical guy. Like he tries to forecast how things are going to go through data. And some of the best coaches are people that can do that can
yeah,
put pieces together based on numbers. I'm a numbers guy to an extent, but I'm also like, let's throw the numbers away and let's just fucking get after it. At some point it's like it's performance based and head to head, and that competition is the fuel. The numbers are kind of the byproduct of that. But
yeah.
um
There's definitely like ins and outs of both of it. I think Dan puts us in a really good position to succeed
mm,
with the information. And you're 100% right. When you're on the floor, going into it with the knowledge of the numbers and the analytics is super helpful, 100%. But you're right. When you get on the floor, you have to adjust. And if things don't go to what the numbers you thought you were gonna get, or things ended up being broken up one or two more times than you anticipated, you got to adjust. And that's I've always thought that like being more prepared going into it makes that easier. So like the
yeah.
preparation that Dan gives us going into matches, I think allows us to make those decisions on the fly on the grid way smoother.
Oh, for sure. So, let's talk initial thoughts about grids, the season starting. Um, Prior to the season starting, what were the initial thoughts, and have those initial thoughts changed now that you have one match under your belt?
It's fast.
Yeah.
Fast. Yeah. I think that was the biggest thing. I got a little bit of a taste of it during our training camp, just like seeing some veterans and how they went through their preparation and how they went through the races. And that was one thing, but to see it in live competition on the grid, even watching just a few races before we got ready to go, really like opened it up to me. Like, oh shit, that's how I need to be training. That's what I need to be doing. So I think
Right.
I wasn't like unprepared at all in terms of like how I trained and tested everything going into Miami, but I do think leaving it, um, I understand it now. Maybe not to the extent of a veteran. I've literally only played one match, but from what I was coming into it with, yeah, I think I've definitely taken a lot back from it, and I feel I can prepare better for the next couple matches.
Yeah, it's I talk to athletes all the time, and one of the things and that veteran athletes say, is that rookies are great talent-wise. They're strong, they're body weight specialists, they utility players, they can do it all. But the problem is no matter how many camps you have or how many scrimmages you have or practice, games that you have, it doesn't mimic fully what the speed is on the grid. And like grid speed is and this is a saying in the community, grid speed is just different.
Yeah.
And for you, obviously, now that you have a match under your belt, you understand where that speed, and I'm sure you probably realized it mid-match where you're like, I've got to be faster. Like I
Yeah.
can't treat this as I'm in the gym in a normal class doing my thing. Like I've got to pick it up because the beauty in grid is that speed is huge, but also efficiency of movements is huge. And so
Yeah.
yeah, it's great to be very like hit every point of your range of motion and be very fluid and smooth, but you got to be able to do it pretty fast too.
Yeah.
um
Definitely. I mean,
so you know
I blacked out for like a lot of the first match, just like running on adrenaline. But I don't remember who was across from me while we were doing the wall balls in the triad. Whoever was in the Sharks across from me, I remember just like catching him out of the corner of my eye, and I was like, "Oh my god, they're standing up so fast! I need to go so much faster on these wall balls." And I think I'm fast at wall balls, but just like seeing it in real time and like comparing it to myself, like, "Oh, I gotta get going." So
yeah, that's as a sports, like I work with mindset. uh I coach mindset with sports performance with athletes, and one of the things that I work with the athletes on is younger athletes especially, is that the speed of the game, to them it seems like everything is moving just so fast. So what we try to do is to slow the game down but speed them up, like, and so like I get it when you're saying like it was just moving so fast it's like a blur, and that's a normal typical response. But it seems like you fared pretty well. I mean, you had an impact. You were top 5 in impact scores for your team this past week with a 108. Um, and so, like, what that means essentially is that you were impactful in a sense that you did a lot of different things with a high value score. So, movements that have a high EV score get you a higher impact. And so, that doesn't mean that you don't do some of the easier impact things, but you do a lot of different things, and that's how you equate to such a high impact score. But 4th overall for your team, which is great. Going into your first match, obviously the outcome, isn't what you wanted. And what many fans don't realize is that the Wild is replacing a ton of people from a championship roster. Whether you replace those people with veterans or rookies, it's really hard to find continuity right away. But when you look back at week 1, what's the takeaway?
uh, I just think we that's a good question. I mean, the takeaway is that we just need to clean up a lot of things. I don't think that our execution was necessarily, you know, I don't even want to say bad. We had things we fell apart on. I definitely made some mistakes myself, and I think the Sharks were a good team.
Yeah.
They came super prepared, and not that we didn't come prepared, we were as prepared as we could have been. We had a lot of new people, like myself included. I had no idea what I was walking into, from a like reality standpoint, and it's not like it's unfamiliar. Like all the movements, like I've done training, I've done CrossFit, I've seen grid, I know what all this stuff is, but like just to be in the moment, um, I think for a lot of our newer people, just like I said before, just like feeling that and seeing that. I think all of us kind of having that same feeling that I described earlier at the same time. It's a lot to overcome,
Yeah.
for lack of a better word. So there were some really really bright spots and things that could have gone a different way, for sure. And we'll clean them up and we'll get better. We'll bounce back. I think
Yeah.
it's an unfortunate outcome to what could be looked at as like a really positive start for this new team.
Yeah. I think that's kind of the misconception that people might have, is like you look at the end result of the score. And while it doesn't show favorable for the Wild, you guys might look at it and go, hey, for us getting together really on a live grid for the first time, we had a plan, we had to modify, we had to change, but we're learning, and sometimes you have to have that learning curve in order to make significant strides later on. And I think a lot of
Yeah.
you, I think that's what it is okay, now I know, and now I know where the level has to be. And so now next week you're going to up that level and be at a higher level where you need to be. Plus, it's familiar, and when anything is familiar to you, it just makes it so much easier. You're confident.
Oh, I think I'm losing you. I don't know if I can hear you. Oh, there we go.
We're back. So, the weather here is pretty miserable. I'll say that. Anytime I feel like in my neighborhood it spits rain, like it just power and connections are bad. But that's life.
Gotcha.
We just modify and keep moving on. But basically, there's a lot to take away from week one. There's a lot to improve upon, but I think you guys are all in the same boat that we had to have that week of feeling it out in order for us to really make these significant strides for week two.
Yeah.
Week two, you have the Lions, and they've been dubbed as a super team. I don't know how much of the backstory you know about the Lions, but they've taken two teams essentially and merged them into one. I could dive into logistics and stats to argue whether they're considered a super team or not, but for all intents and purposes, they are the best players from two teams have merged together, and they're now the Lions. But um, you know, in order for you guys to make strides in the right direction for this match against the Lions, what is it that you guys are preparing for? What are you guys doing so that you ensure that you have the opportunity and put yourself in a position to win?
We need to stay a team. I think what was our best moment from Miami was as the score became what it was, nobody quit on the Wild. We had some, really big pieces of our team unfortunately go down for part of the race. And Tom got hurt, Kavika suffered a small injury, and I think I had to adjust on the fly, and nobody blinked. We had actually my girlfriend with a single match signed for us. She had no idea what she was doing, but she was able to jump in and get over those burpee step overs for us. And we were just working. And I think being able to take that camaraderie, and we are not a team of individuals, we are a team. And I think continuing to build on that, how we can rely on each other. And I don't see a ceiling for this team yet. Everybody's getting much
Yeah.
better. And even with what Miami was, like there are, I don't know, if we play a different team, I don't know if it ends the same way. There are a lot of teams that we finished with Jack and Jill. A lot of teams didn't, and I think there's something to be said for that, that I think we are not what the score was, you know? So I'm excited for us to continue to build and take that into Tampa.
Yeah, it's just knowing what I know about the players and then looking at the score, like I know it's you guys aren't a byproduct of, that's not, who you are. I think it's more about the situation than it is anything. But for you guys, obviously, big match. I mean, we have to throw that out there. It's a big match as far
Yeah,
as how the rest of the season might go. You need to create a smaller point differential. You need to cut into that, but also you need to try to win. That's a huge component to being able to put yourself or at least give you a fighting chance of making the playoffs, because in a league where you're only having 4 regular season matches, everyone is important. Not that you have to win them all, but they're important in and of
yeah,
their own right. Um, but obviously, you're going into with a much different, outlook. You guys are not going to quit. And one of the things I was telling people during week 1 is like, I'm just impressed. Like for me, like as a player, like you could easily see how easy it could have been, like for you guys just to be like, oh, let's just go through the motions. But you could honestly tell that wasn't happening. You're trying to go out, treating every race as its own and not worrying about the score and just trying to win. So, tip my hat to you guys for that. And I think that bodes well for moving forward, especially into week 2 against the Lions.
yeah.
But the league also announced that it's expanding into New York, not too far from the Philly area. You know, how amazing is it to know like this grassroots, this regional, sport of grid has now became this united sport, and now we're branching out from coast to coast.
It's pretty crazy. I mean, even as the short amount of time I've been involved with the more and more people that I see on Instagram or anything talking about it, being involved with it, asking about it, like it's growing exponentially in the last 12 to 16 months, I feel like. So it's huge. I think a team in New York's awesome. Really getting expanded. I know Vegas and Houston, but taking it up to the Northeast. I think it's huge. Putting a grid team in a big market, that's how you get eyes on it. And I think it's
Yeah.
important.
Yeah. When you're talking about big time growth and sponsors and just eyes on the product, having a team in New York is huge.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I think the announcement of the New York Wolves and Jen and what she's got going on for her, I think that's a good step in the right direction. It's huge move for the league. But
Yeah.
next week, you're at Valor Fitness in Tampa, taking on the Lions. Now, the match format is Ascend. How much have you looked at the movements for Ascend? How much have you been working on? Is there anything that you're looking forward to with that race format?
I think we're prepared. Again, like I said, Dan gets us ready. We've gone through film. We've watched, what is it? Ascend? I forget the name. Ascend.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've watched past races of it, even with the nuances and small changes going into Tampa this next week, because of movements being subbed in and out. I think we have a pretty good idea of where we need to be split wise, movement wise, speed wise. So yeah, just it's been a lot of testing, a lot of timing, to see where we need to put each other and what our transitions are going to be like. But yeah, I think like I said, just continuing to build on how well we can prepare match to match. We went in maybe a little bit blind from our rookie standpoint going into Miami, but I think now every match we can continue to build on that experience and be more and more prepared.
Absolutely. What do you know what races or what movements you're going to be doing, or is that still like we're not letting anybody know?
That's up to Dan.
I had to ask. I had a feeling
No,
that was going to be the answer, but I try to get whatever I can get out of people. Hey, a little bit, but I get it. Obviously, and that if I know Dan, like there's probably 13 different strategies for the match, and so he hasn't really decided on one yet. So, but that's good. You guys are working. You're ready. You're prepared. Obviously, moving in the right direction. I'm excited to see you guys take on the Lions. I'll be there live for it.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I'll get a chance to say what's up to you before you guys get out there and going. But
Yeah, man.
I appreciate you taking the time with me today, Matt. Anything you want to plug or promote before we get you out of here?
Just want to say what's up to my Wild teammates. Miss you guys. See you next week. Open Boss Athletics. If anybody's in Philadelphia, want to get a good workout in, come see what's up. And hi, Mom. That's all.
Nice. See, the best for last. See, a lot of people come on here and they go, I don't know. No, I don't have anything I got to plug and promote. And then I actually got to like give them a couple of things. And they're like, oh, yeah, I forgot about my sponsors who are on the back of my jersey.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And Durfin, Noka, all of our Wild supporters. Thank you, guys.
There you go. But Matt, I appreciate it. Look forward to talking to you next weekend. You know, best of luck with the training. Best of luck in your travels. And then, hey, whatever happens this next weekend, just get after it and leave it all on the grid, man.
Thanks, Dan. I appreciate you letting me come on.
Absolutely. That's Matt Phelan, everybody. If you like hearing Matt's story or you just like hearing Average Joe's talk X's and O's, please like, share the podcast on Facebook. Head over to YouTube, click like, subscribe, notifications. That way you're first to know when new content is dropped. And we're dropping it all the time. This week for the Grid and Grind show, we have a big time show on Friday. I got myself, I got Byram, I got Cassie, I got Joe. We're all coming together. We're going to do a week 1 recap show. It's going to be live on YouTube, live on Instagram. It's going to be live everywhere. So get ready for that. Bring your popcorn, bring your positive attitudes or your negative attitudes. Just know that, like, I don't lose sleep over the negative attitude. So that's that. But anyhow, week 2 predictions on that show as well. And then, you know, we'll be back again. Maybe some new folks coming in the mix. I know we've got Josh Newell coming up. We got him scheduled. We got Fico Gomez. I mean, I haven't had Fico on, and I should have had him on a while ago, but he'll be on the show. Nicole Hunt from the Palms is coming on. We've got anyone and everyone available, so just look out for those things. But it's been a blast. I'll see y'all on Friday. As always, remember, strong body, sharp minds, grit and grind all the time. We are out.